Sunil Gavaskar joins us live on the program. And Sunil bhai, first up, before we get into the nitty-gritties of the match, do you think that was the right call taken by Rohit Sharma to drop himself from the playing 11 in such a crucial test match of the series, in the middle of the series, something that's never happened in Indian cricket before?
Well, I think it was a decision that was obviously taken with the interest of the Indian team and taking the current form into account. So that was what Jaspritbumrah also said, that he decided, the captain decided not to play because they used the word rested, which is, what is used in Indian cricket. But opting out was mainly because not just the last two test matches that he's played, but also because of what has happened in the earlier matches against New Zealand, where he wasn't scoring runs. So I think that's one of the reasons, the main reasons why he opted to leave himself out of the team.
Okay, no reason to doubt what Jasprit Bumrah said. This was indeed a decision taken by Rohit Sharma himself. But my question to you, Saiba, is I spoke to you a day before the match and I asked you, had you been in a situation like that, and you narrated that there were a few times while you were captain of the Indian team, you did find yourselves in situations where you may have been struggling for form or there were some injury issues, and you went up to the team manager or the senior players within the team and asked them that, listen, I'm having these doubts about playing this game. I don't know whether I deserve to be part of the playing 11. And you said every time you got a response from the manager / coach and the senior players ensured that you played, even though you had self-doubts. Is it then fair to assume that while Rohit may have doubted his own form, he would have definitely gone to a coach, he would have definitely gone to some senior players, maybe even the chairman of selectors who's present in Australia, and he did not get that vote of confidence from them, and that's why he decided not to play himself?
I don't know. I mean, this is a question that I really can't answer because every individual is different. Every individual, will have his own way of dealing with situations. So really, this is something that we're talking about more than a generation gap as well in the kind of thinking that goes along. So. This is difficult for me to answer. I think this is a question best answered by the names that you've taken.
Okay, fair point. This question needs to be answered by the other parties involved. But I'll ask you the similar question in a different way. If you were the current coach of the Indian team, and I'm just talking about this specific scenario, the form that Rohit Sharma comes with at the moment, not great as you had mentioned too. And Rohit Sharma approaches you on the eve of this Sydney test match. You are the coach and says that, listen, I'm having doubts and I think I best sit out for the balance of the team. What would be your advice to a current Rohit Sharma?
But again, I would ask him to come back to me the next day. I would ask him to sleep over it and come back to me the next day. Because at the end of the day, the team is the captain's team. And so the captain has to decide what's the best combination. And if the captain decides that the best combination can be without him, then you let the captain take that call.
Okay, what do you think is the long-term outlook, Sahib? What do you think the future holds for Rohit Sharma, the test cricketer?
Again, it's a call that he will have to make. My feeling is that because the new World Test Championship cycle starts from June, July, with the series in England, there are no test matches now between the end of this test match and that test match. And if India do not qualify for the World Test Championship final, then I think the selection committee will want to look not just at Rohit Sharma, but at some others for who they might be saying, look, are they going to be available for the 2027 World Test Championship final in case India does well again in the next 2 years? So that will be the Indian selection committee's thinking, or that should be the Indian selection committee's thinking. And so I think maybe Rohit Sharma, being 38 years old, might not be fitting into their plans because he'll be 40 years then.
Okay, fair point, Saim. As you mentioned, very valid at that. that maybe now, moving forward, you'd have to look at the team selection as well as the captain selection based on who could be playing the 2027 WTC cycle. So with that in mind, if that's the ideal scenario for Indian cricket, with that in mind, who do you think is the best candidate then at the moment to lead this Indian team into the next WTC cycle, the next captain?
Jasprit Bumrah. Jasprit Bumrah is shown in Perth. Jasprit Bumrah, uh, he's got this opportunity to show here again in this Test match what he's made of as a captain, and he would be the next best option.
185 is what the Indian team has managed. You have had a look at the pitch. We've seen there's a lot of seam movement, some up and down bounce too. Keeping that in mind, where do you think the Indian team is? Below par with 185, or do you think it's a par total, or can India think of the unthinkable like they did in Perth and take a first innings lead? Where do you think the Indian team stands after day one?
Well, I think the last couple of wickets who added, I think, 30 odd runs, they have done a wonderful job for India, because anything under 150, you could have said on this surface was well below par. Even 185 is actually well below par. When you opt to bat first on a pitch which you know is going to present some difficulties, then you're looking at a score of maybe about 240 to 260 or thereabouts. If you get more, then you're pretty happy with yourself. But I think 185 is probably a little bit below par. But the way this pitch has behaved, and tomorrow again, hopefully there'll be overcast conditions. Then I think we could actually be in a situation where we can really give Australia a run for their money.
What did you make of, Sahiba, the decision at the toss, winning the toss and deciding to bat first on a green top pitch as well as overcast conditions?
Well, it was a tough call. It was a tough call. It was a courageous call. I think it was a call taken similar to what happened in Perth. Perth also, the pitch had a fair bit of grass. Perth, we always know, have a lot of bounce. So clearly, I think at that stage to bat first was a tough call. India justified it by, despite being dismissed for 150, dismissing Australia for 104. And then in the second innings, piling up almost 500 and eventually winning by 295 runs. So yes, I think if you take that into account and the reputation of the Sydney pitch, despite what the current pitch is, the Sydney pitches always have given a little bit of help to the spinners. So that is the reason why this call was taken. And, it was a struggle throughout, as you would have seen, that the pitch was doing something. So maybe if the pitch eases up and like what happened in Perth, India bat really well in the second innings, then for Australia to chase even 200 in the fourth innings might not be easy.
What did you make of India's batting performance as a whole, Sahiba? And this is a discussion we had earlier where you had mentioned that, maybe it's time to look at the position of a lot of players. And, going forward, we may have to have a fresh bunch of players in the new WTC cycle. But are there youngsters in the team? Because a lot of youngsters are also part of this 11. Are they pushing the senior players enough? Because once they do, only then can you have a successful transition.
Not all youngsters have got an opportunity. There's one youngster, which is Kumar Reddy. I know the last couple of innings he hasn't done well. But I think we have seen that, some of the youngsters certainly have done justice to their talent. And we'll be looking forward to more opportunities in the future.
One of the senior players that I'm referring to, of course, is Virat Kohli. 9 innings now and identical dismissals in those 9 innings. For Australia, would you say he's now turned into a walking wicket? Because they have this one plan, bowl outside that off-stump channel, and you will get his wicket.
Yeah, it's working. It's working. So they're sticking to their plan. And they're getting the rewards. So why would they change it if it is working for them and it's not working for you? Then you look at different plans. So for the Australians, it's working very well, and that's what will happen.
Okay. Fair point. As you said, it's working for Australia. Why fix something that's not broken? That plan is working for Australia. Every innings he's getting out in a similar fashion. But what about Virat Kohli? Shouldn't he be looking to change plans? I mean, if you get out in different ways, it's another matter. You know, newer things are happening, so it's tough for you to keep a track of where you're really faltering. Here, there's this one way he's getting out. Shouldn't Virat then be looking to change his plans?
All great players, make the adjustments that is required to be able to score runs. So all great players will look at, what they should be doing, what they should not be doing, and then they'll be looking, therefore, to eliminate errors as much as possible and try and get into a situation, into a zone where they can play at their best with whatever deliveries are coming, which way, on the off stump, leg stump, whatever it is. So I think great players will find their way. Uh, Hopefully, in the final innings, Kohli will be able to find that way.
What did you make of that? Towards the end of the day's play, these verbals that happened between young 19-year-old Konstas and the rest of the Indian team. And my question to you is, have the Indian team allowed a 19-year-old greenhorn to occupy as much space in their minds as he should have or he deserves? Maybe the Indian team's focusing on him much more than they should be?
It's not that what happens is when somebody, it's not the batting thing. It's when somebody on the field is doing things, you tend to sort of get at him. If you recall that when there was a young Kohli who was as, upfront with the opposition, everybody in the opposition was trying to sort of, maybe not put him down and try and get his wicket, try and shut him out. So I think it is pretty similar. That's what they're looking to do, because just before that delivery that got Khwaja out, I think he had something to say to Jasprit Bumrah. So it was really none of his business at that stage to say anything to Jasprit Bumrah. But he did, and that's the reason why Jasprit Bumrah and everybody went at him. And I think Konstas has suddenly become, what Australians feel is somebody who can thwart Jasprit Bumrah. He did that in that first innings when nobody knew what was going to happen. Jasprit Bumrah had an answer in the second innings, got him out. But what I think is that I think with all this, he's got a little bit carried away as well with this thing. Shane Watson, who has seen him grow, has gone on record saying he's normally a very quiet, reserved person, and he's surprised by this change in him. And this could be a change where maybe the others around him in the Australian team have sort of encouraged him to do that. But one thing I'll tell you, that as he goes on, as this reputation of his, of being a stirrer, and because that's all is happening at the moment, gets big, he will be the one that everybody will try their darndest to put down.
Saimi, I'm not even looking at the long term, even in the short term. I'm licking my lips in anticipation as to what is going to happen between a Konstas and Jasprit Bumrah, Prasidh Krishna. I'm sure they're going to have a go at him. Finally, before we let you go, what did you make of those two umpiring decisions by the third umpire? One of Steve Smith taking that catch of Virat Kohli that wasn't allowed, and the other of Washington Sundar's dismissal, which the Snicko didn't seem to have too much of movement there, yet he was given out.
I think the Kohli catch was clearly not out, though all those who do not love Indian and India cricket will say it was out. But that is understandable. They know where their bread is buttered. Their bread is not buttered as far as India is concerned, because they are all with, having their work-related things in Australia. So that's totally understandable. But you can see when the ball is held between the index finger and the middle finger, there's more chances of it being a clean catch, that the ball has not touched the ground. But when it is between the index finger and the thumb, 99.9% of the time, it will hit the ground. It will touch the ground, because you cannot really hold the ball, cricket ball, coming at speed in this. It is bound to, slip out of your hand. And that's the reason. If it had been cleanly held, then the ball would not have gone up to another fielder. So that was a correct decision in my view. And then with the Washington Sundar decision, also I think the technology once again has shown that there is great need for technology to improve. But there was a bit of doubt about whether he had connected, because there really was not a clear deflection being shown, but the umpire thought that there was a deflection being shown, and therefore, and there was a little spike there, so therefore he was given out.